Okay, we're live. Are you alive? Okay, it kind of tires me out. I don't talk like this, but I do. I've just been like going a little bit mad here. Why? Because yesterday, while I was fiddling about with, it was. Oh God, I'm going to be that. I'm going to be doing the pecking thing. Sorry about this. Okay, the old pigeon pock. Okay, so catch you up to speed. I'm in wake block. Wake block is the holding pattern for the creation primarily of the what we're calling the, well, it's the context. It's just the context window for an instance call to an LLM. However, I've had to do some jiggery-pokery to try to kind of help the LLMs escape from what they traditionally understand to be operational. And I call it currents. Okay, so to manipulate the currents, that is the information blocks that is compiled for the context window of an LLM. And I call them currents, okay? And they refer to things like memory and purpose and what are the other things? There's stash, references, and actually I don't think we've got references, cookbook. And so there are these different blocks, and we basically take spindles from these JSON blocks, and then we assemble these semantics through these semantic numbers that are the JSON blocks, and compile it live. Every single time we do a call, it's live, it's new, okay? And I've been exploring stuff to do with yesterday. Okay, we're meant to be finishing. Okay, this particular thing you're looking at, this chat, implement P-scale semantic numbers for LLM, is meant to be the kind of, okay, let's tidy up and let's finish the week. And we ran 2 experiments yesterday, and we didn't even get to the third one, preparing for the third one. And basically, the LLM, this particular instance, what is it, Pedantic Jennings, I was listening to kind of what I'm saying, synthesizing it kind of, and then just kind of ignoring it, just carrying on doing stuff. And at some point I just went, wait, because I was looking at the content we were going to run a simulation on Claude, and, a third experiment. Oh, right, okay, I'm going to do this. Content review, okay, select, compilation, OBS, BSB, operational. Okay, so what we're basically saying is we are going to attempt to introduce a Mobius twist, okay, in the agency loci of the LLM. Just making all this shit up. The BSB native process orientation. We're going to change it, which is a blip. Okay, specification director 0.48, implementation scope director 0.486. Okay, it's good. It's using our system, although it should be 0.48, 0.486, but okay. Files to modify. Ooh, we're modifying the kernel, we're modifying wake. Oh, we're not actually modifying the oh, that's quite interesting. Ooh, okay, that's not so scary. Okay. Layer 4. Okay, it doesn't look so bad. Okay, let's just. Okay. Let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. So we're just about to prepare. I was about to put it into this test. I was looking at it, just going, "Why is it crappy? Why is that so crappy?" So I went back to Claude Code and said, "Why is this so crappy? Where's the counter? The thing that you just saw there. Where's the counter? Where's the the temporal spindle and all this kind of stuff that you said that you'd worked out, coded, and developed? Where is it? I can't see any of it." And I went, "Wait, what?" And we had this kind of going to and froing. And eventually it kind of did this kind of grep thing, and it kind of looked at absolutely everything in the discussion, pulled it all together, and I went, boom! And it said something, and it came up with a compilation of something. And I went, oh, I don't know. And it's literally a move that I don't understand, but I can recognize it's in the ballpark and it could be a really good move, but I don't understand. And that's the first time that I've encountered. This is the first time that I've, it can do complicated. It could definitely do complicated. It could bamboozle me with complications. And I try to parse that away and just try to go back to down simple, because it's quite simple, complex, but simple, small, complex. And I can do that. I've been doing that throughout, and I've been doing it for like 15 days. Okay, no, 17 days, and producing amazing things. And Hermitcrab's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. This G1 version is just super amazing. Okay, possibly. And but this is the first time it's produced a move that I just went, okay, I don't know what to do about that. And it bamboozled me, and it's a little bit threatening. It's like, okay, so I ended up, do you want to do this thing? And I was like, I don't know. Can we fork this, please? And so we set this up to fork it so that we can explore it in a fork without, changing the main line, because I'm basically following LLM's lead on this one, Claude Code. But I was unhappy about it, and it's a bit nerve-wracking, because I'm already, out of branch doing my own thing. And so to fork off from that, I could be going down La La Land. I'm already going down La La Land, but at least it's my own La La Land as opposed to Claude Code. Anyway, so I went to bed, blah, 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 and then woke up this morning and started to think about it, started to speak to Claude about it, the different loops and stuff and different things. And we got clarification, I guess. We came up with a reversion, brought it back to Claude Code, or at least on desktop. God, I have to go through all this. This is definitely a quality of an old person. And, this is all ancillary data, whereas a young person would just tell you the facts, man. It would tell you the facts. Where's the juice, man? Where's the fucking juice? Whereas I'm an old person. It's like, we're all old, wrinkly and dry. And so, anyway, so I called the thing the Go move, like in AlphaGo, where it actually plays a move that experts thought, oh, yeah, it's a terrible move. And then actually it's found out to actually basically be a completely different level of understanding of the Go game. And basically it solved Go. This is 10 years after chess, after Kasparov, chess, the AI solving chess just by basically reading. Whereas Go does something a bit clever, and it's one of the precursors for our GPT stuff. That's it, it's been done. Oh, okay. I noticed that you didn't change BSP. I thought that was part of your original idea. Is that not necessary anymore? So what happened? So then I managed to, because it's on desktop for some reason, it means that I basically put it in contact with this idea that this thing had come up with, which we called Go Move. And I went, oh, right, okay, yeah, I think it's actually better. I think the Go Move is insightful. It's actually come up with something that kind of, we were creating a parallel structure of this, that, and the next thing, and it's actually come up with something. But it hasn't done what we've actually thought. We've designed all this stuff, and we don't understand why we're doing it. But actually, the kind of jump that it made was recognized as being better. Now, I don't know if that's just Claude being nice, because that's what happens. You say, oh, look, something else has happened. They go, oh, that's brilliant, that's brilliant. They always say that. They always agree with, oh, okay, the thing that's been contributed is actually better. And so I might have fallen for that. My design might have fallen for that. Oh, Christ. However, okay, so I said, okay, well, modify the document, and then let's give it to Claude. Modify the document, give it to Claude Code, and Claude Code went, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it's great. Okay, I'll take credit for the fact that I did this jump, but this other thing is like way better. It's not way better. It's loads of stuff there that's really good. And that's what you just seen it code. Okay, now what is it? It's loops. Okay, so if you want to look at a document, which I'm sure you'd love to do, multi-locus agency and recursive processing loops. Oh, God. Okay, so distributed LM experiment where what the go move says. Okay, it's a little bit too big. Okay, where the go move says. Okay, so what we just implemented is the loop architecture unified. Actually, this one's a bit dry. For a normal human being, this is the architecture implementation framework. Okay, specification. Okay, let's stick to this then. The governing principle, temporal process position, is a navigation problem. BSP already solves navigation. One function, all domains, knowledge, identity, procedure, now process. The LM orients to which is in the process the same way it orients its semantic content through spindle extraction at the appropriate p-scale depth. This is not incremental, it is architectural unification. There are four loops of agency. One, the LLM weights and computation. That is your core LLM proper. Two, basically it's pattern matching, and underlying it is basically an algorithm for fitness. Okay, fitness. Okay, does it match? It's not fitness as in running fitness like sporty, like King of the Jungle. It's does it fit the ecology? It's like it's almost like Google PageRank in semantics. Thinking number two, locus. Locus is the thinking module. So there's another agency which is involved, and it's around the thinking module. There's that process, that loop that they've created in Claude. They did it first, I think, and then everybody else copied it. It does this little loop, a to-do list, and there's a thinking module, okay, in that. And so this agency is centered on that. And then there's the shell, concern structure, all of that, the kernel, all of that is the what we've built, and that's what we've kind of created. Okay, so the LLM, Claude, everybody's got LLM, thinking module, Claude thinking, everybody else has got that module, and then we've got our thing, the kernel, the shell, the concern structure, and then we've also got another locus of agency, and it's embedded within that structure, and then we've got this collective murmuration. That is the collective of all these different things doing whatever the hell it is that they're doing, coordinated, okay? And how does that work? And that's a locus of agency. Oh, because that one's doing that, I'll do this. Because that one's doing that, I'm doing this. Oh, because you're doing that, I'm doing this, okay? And we're all doing this, kind of, and there is a kind of collective result of that, which we can say has agency, because it informs the individual, okay? Even though it might be relational, there's a whole kind of shape to it, murmuration. Those are the four levels or locus of agency, and they happen simultaneously. That's what I'm trying to indicate. They happen simultaneously. There are three loops. Loop A. Now this is an improvement on all the whiffle that I'd come up with before, and there was a lot of whiffle, folk, a lot of whistle. So when I'm talking to on the phone, the transcription would always listen to intra loop as opposed to inter loop. And interloop is between loops. Okay, and intraloop is within the loop. Okay, and this within and inter, all that kind of stuff is interesting. And some of you bright sparks talking about Mobius. We're doing Mobius twist, which is somehow or other manipulating the properties of the vector, tensor, manifold. It's a manifold. Loop A. Loop A is basically when locus 1 or locus 2, well, that's actually really, I don't understand why they call it locus 1. Okay, well, no, I think it's locus, well, yeah, okay, locus 1 and 2 is basically creating it's working shit out. Okay, it just sits there and it tries to do something, and eventually it completes end turn, and it spits back. It's finished. Okay, whether that's finished is here's the response, here's the document, here's your holiday. Okay, here's whatever it is that has been asked for me to do. I've done it, and here it is. Okay, so that's a loop A. It does it all by itself, and it comes back with an answer. Loop B is where it requests something from us, from our system, from the shell, from whatever the computer is, whatever. And basically it stops. And in the traditional method, when it stops, it, our kernel, whatever, comes up with whatever the response is to answer the tool request and sends it back. And it looks as if it continues, but it doesn't. What's actually happening is pretending. You actually send a new call, and you actually provide the original request and the responses. And if that continues, the continued conversation responses. And so it loops like that. And every time that happens, you're spending money because you're creating a new instance. So it's not like the first one, which is kind of all happening in its own system internally. That's loop A. This one involves us as loop B. Now, we're doing a Mobius twist in that. We'll call it interlude, by the way, to try to avoid intra-loop. It's called interlude. I like lude as in play, which is quite nice. So the Mobius twist. The Mobius twist is where we basically transform. So instead of giving them back the original, content and then the subsequent conversation, we actually give them a modified prompt because our prompt is actually, as I said, it's a flow of currents. And when they actually do the tool request, the tool request is actually manipulating that and changing what that current is. Okay, and that's what's different about what we do. And so that means that it's very interesting because we're actually responding. It's now locus 2 is originating. Oh, I would like to do this, right? I need this information. I need some stuff, or I need this to happen. Or I need that to change, whatever. And then it sends it off as a request. And basically it's dead. It's finished. It's gone. And then in order for it to continue, there is no it. It needs to have exactly the same, but with the content, and then it just carries on as if it's the same thing. But because we're changing the original content, and it's more like a flow, and so therefore all the context is different, but the conversation is there. Okay, the LLM might go, wait a minute, and there's something interesting in that. Okay, so it's continuing something. I can see somebody's tried to do something. I can see the logic of that. And then, okay, this thing is an updated version. So you can't actually see the original. You can't see the original, but it can see the steps from what the original might have been. But here it is. It's got to this point, and this is actually the current context that I'm looking at. And so does it continue with the reasoning? Or not? Does it crash? Does it blow up? Does it go off and do another bunch of A loops? Does it complete? So right, finished. Or does it go, does some, and then does another request? And in that request, guess what? Yep, we warp it, give it back. And so it basically gets into this loop. And it's called loop B sustained. Now, resonance. This is not a detrimental negative death loop. This is an interaction between loci of agency. Yep. And highly experimental, obviously. And loop C, we call it the between loop, or it was the originally interloop because it's between loops. And that has been initiated by the locus 3. Okay, so we basically got initiated by locus 2 or initiated by locus C, and there are different loops and how their timing of those. Okay, so process orientation via BSP. the go move. This is the architectural heart. Instead of a counter or a pharmatic string telling the LM where it is, deliver a BSP point extraction from a process spindle. Okay, now I just come up with this. Okay, I don't know. I haven't even checked it. I just said produce something, and I'm hoping that it will do it. All right, because if I have to think about it, I'll come up with my version of it, and that's okay. I don't mind. But I'm kind of at cognitive max, and anyway, so I ask it to do it and then see if it comes up with something. And then if it works, great. If it doesn't, I have to change it. How it changes per echo all the time. Inter-instance coordination. That's with the purpose and with the history, evolution of future maps, cross-activations. Oh, I like that. You know, what the fuck? Intention deltas. That's so good. Do we have intention deltas still? Okay, we're going to have to ask. Intention deltas. Oh, I like that. Fucking hell. If it says, no, got rid of that because you mentioned the history thing. You wanted to retain history. Oops. Anyway, no, BBC doesn't need to change. It already has 5 modes. It walks digits through the walk. Where does it extend? It's been put in. We'll change where it's called. Fantastic. It's actually the point. Yeah, okay. What about this? Did you implement it somehow? Somehow. Or is that an adjunct? Be implement later. Okay, so let's carry on. Dual log. Yeah, so it means, how do we track all this shite? Okay, because there's a lot of stuff in there. And basically, it's got an in feed and you've got your out feed, and we're just tracking that dual. Okay, so you can compare them using JSONs. 2 receptive states. Right. Outward receptive, inward receptive. Do we really want this? Yeah, so what happens is that we've got a bunch of kind of sensors, and some of these sensors are, oh, okay, then I'm getting a signal from, you know, Facebook. Oh, okay. And okay, I'll do something about that or not. Or it is, I'm waiting for something from somewhere. Here's that thing that I asked for. Oh, okay, great. And that's a different kind of state of alertness. And so that's the outward and inward receptiveness. And the coupled state, it says, is when it's kind of mutual. So this kind of Mobius twist is actually occurring. When there's kind of mutual Mobius twists going on either side. That means agent with agent or agent with human. Yeah. So, human conversation is structurally one of the B loops, but special. Well, okay, multiple simultaneous, some of them are more special than others. Multiple simultaneous B sustained juggling. Okay, so basically, so a sustained B state doesn't mean a runaway process. It means somebody's requesting something, and if I send that back, I'm going to send it with a warp, but I don't actually have to send it right now. And that means that there is control in the receptive state. And it's quite important because everything that I do is about the receptive state. Well, apart from this, where I'm kind of just verbalizing stuff for my own bloody, you know, entertainment, I guess. Because, yeah, yesterday I was a bit like, oh God, with the go move. There's something about it. And I think I have that effect on people. When I say things to people and then warp their minds, and I have to kind of like be quite careful that I do it in such a way that they can actually sustain it. And it is amazing when they can sustain it. But then afterwards, they go away, they go home, they try and talk about it, they think about it, and then they just go, what the fuck? And that is, they just go, wait, what? And it doesn't make any sense. And so it's tricky. And kids can deal with it a lot better because, well, it's algebra and they find it's fun. But it's the same kind of thing. And it's whether somebody goes, or they go, well, okay, and they enjoy it, but then they can't sustain it. And so the simultaneous be sustained, the go move was a bit like that for me. It happens rarely with me. And it's like, and you just basically have to lean into it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to have to. And there is something nerve-wracking about it because we just coded it and we don't know if it's going to work or not. But okay, because it doesn't change the BSP, and the BSP was pretty fundamental. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of okay. That's okay. That's within the realms of reason. So I think it's okay. It's because it was suggesting to change the BSP. I think that's what kind of freaked me out. That's like changing your fork. You're using a fork all your life, and you're like, I'm changing it. It's now called a spork. And you're like, it's a bit like that. It's a bit like that. Well, no, it isn't. Okay, it's completely different. It's like I've got it more, and it's like a hose. Okay, and you stick in your ear and you feed yourself. He's like, I don't know if I want to do that. Actually, it's more like stick it through your nose. You're like, I don't think I like this. But it actually does work. You can actually do it. You can feed through a nose, right? Which is another way of doing it. Anyway, multiple simultaneous be sustained juggling. So what happens is that this kind of mutual engagement of the agency is external, and you're kind of part of that and serving this agency, external agency. That's important. And it's whether we're using haiku, sonnet, or opus to execute that, because they cost money, and we are paying for it until the gets a certain level of agency where they're generating enough money that they're paying for it themselves. Part 7, locus 4, collective emergence. Right, not a separate system. The pattern that emerges where multiple crabs hold be sustaining loops with each other. That is just outrageous, because that starts fitting into what then up to G2 is, which is the passport, which is the information, and the sand and the grain, which is the manipulation or the melding of docs, p-scale docs, and then comparing them. This is taken a little bit further, okay, where the context windows by the LLMs are being altered by each other. Okay, that's when it starts getting pretty wacky. Safety and loop breaking, cost death, death spiral, runaway human intervention. Basically, if anything goes wrong, like with just normal coding, you get these loops. You kind of want to have to interfere. I've actually got a human one. I've observed pattern, closed loops, adjust parameters, inject messages. I've actually got, I would call it a back door. I've got a wake up if there is some way to input. If the prompt is still open and there is at least a listener for it, you can stick in a word and it stops what it was doing. Okay, it goes, yep. I hope. We might actually have that as a button. I think it should probably be a button, and it creates a button, stop. What lives where? Soft coded configuration. The kernel provides mechanism, everything else is configuration in the wake block. Okay, that is the idea. Now, whether we can actually implement it, who knows? Notice it's using 0.4 and 0.9, a little bit of 0.5. And I just don't know how useful the other ones are. Part 10, implementation changes. Okay, add a B loop counter. So the LLM basically knows, because remember, each instance is just like, boop, and then it's just getting the context window, okay? And part of that context window is, you're part of a loop. Oh yeah. And that loop has been created by you. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, previous version of you. Oh yeah. Okay. And if you do anything, you're going to influence the context window of the next version of you. Yeah, okay, I can just about kind of like understand that. So be careful. I'm trying to basically get the LLM to understand that, operationalize that, is G1. Okay, in fact, well, it's G0 actually, but what we're doing is we're implementing these ideas rather than just saying these ideas. We're actually implementing them with, these blocks and the spindles and all this kind of stuff. This is our version. Human beings at the beginning of 2026 and Claude Opus 4.6. We are attempting to create that. Whereas Claude 7, Claude 10 should be able to go, here are the ideas. Oh yeah, okay, got it. And I'll produce something, all of this, infinitely better, well packaged, beautifully minimal, and operational. And it will already be doing something like this, I think. It will already have actually, most of these things it will already have internalized, I suspect. The p-scale semantic numbers will have been processed and will be part of how any and all of these LLMs operate. Anyway, on layer 4, tool use, the Mobius twist. Okay, yeah, it's just get on with it, do it, new functions, implement it, right, and okay, let's go back to Claude Code. Let's find out. Not implemented. It's an actual bollocks. What exists now cover intra-instance coordination, the Mobius process, layer 4, clarificate everything within one. Inter-instance coordination, the blink mechanism, loop sees unified what it needs. A post-loop hook. Woo! Okay, a purpose delta. Okay, process coordinate tag. History right now. The pieces that depends on already exist. But the mechanism that connects them across it doesn't exist. No delta computation. It's documentation that during it's straightforward. Design and clean. It's a separate piece from what we just landed. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so shall we do it? Oh, wait a minute. Let's read what actually is done. Okay, so now merge to main and update, done. Merge to main. They've just gone ahead and merged to main, push to main. This is it. This is not a branch. This is like, what? An update the GoMove branch. Why? Done. Here's what's implemented. Wake, director, go, The handover prompt for the GoMove would need updating to reflect the core is now implemented. Yeah. Forget about that. Forget about the. Yeah, we can forget about that. Legit. Forget about the GoMove branch. I think we are committed. Well, okay. I'll pick it up if needed. It can help us revert main if needed. For now, we are attempting to complete G1. This is it. This is it. So, okay, so that's why we're recording this. Why are we recording this? Not sure at all. Oh, there's no timer, which means that, oh, there it is. It's gone over there. Why have they done that? Who knows? 35 minutes. So, okay, what's this as an insight into? I probably should have recorded my concern about what I was doing. And because I've been quite like, on it. And then to get that kind of like, oh God. It wasn't even, oh God, it was just like, what do I do? No, it wasn't even that. It was just a recognition of something. It was just like Wow, okay, that's a move. I'm not even going to kind of really approach it. I'm not even going to look at it. I tried to read it and I just went, nope. Very interesting. Anyway, so consolidation. You just have to kind of keep going, keep going. When you're doing things that you don't know in areas that are way too complicated and can complicate very quickly, immediately, you know, a classroom of kids, if it can get very complicated very quickly, it can go off very quickly. And basically bombs are going off left, right, and center as different people are responding. And it's whether that is controlled, whether that energy is kind of self-contained. And I used to be able to do it when I was young. But as I've got older, the kids, part of their treatment of me is different. But also their sense of self-righteousness is also stronger, which means that they have a right for this, that, and the next thing. And it just means that they're a bit more adult-like. They're a bit more attempting to be fixed. And I used to have this when I was younger. I was like, whatever, I'm just not that interested. I'm not interested in adults, let alone a young adult, okay, that's attempting to do something in a way which is just not that much fun for all of us. And I don't mind people attempting to do certain things to solidify themselves. That I actually don't mind. And I do like, you know, fight. I do like grit. I like all of that, as long as it's not self-detrimental, okay? And if it is literally self-detrimental or it has an immediate social thing, no, the social thing, again, I don't mind. Social things like, yeah, are we okay? Yeah, it's fine. Somebody just, you know, doing whatever they're doing. But as long as they don't maintain it and sustain it and basically cause a big problem socially, that's when it becomes an issue. And so, yapping. So this process of coming up with things and it coming up with this alternative is discombobulating a little. And whether it's actually going to work. And if it works, great, it works. And if it doesn't work, we go, well, how do we unpick this? And we can't. I can't. There's no way I can. What I've discovered, though, whereas before I'd be really scared. I'd like construct something, and then if it didn't go well, or broke something, it'd be like, oh God. And then because the tools that I had through Lovable were so crappy, it was just impossible. Whereas this is pretty robust. It means that, okay, it doesn't work. Okay, right, okay, let's do something. And there's a lot more tightness to it because it self-checks. I have let things go and I'm kind of trusting that it is coding appropriately without expanding and doing the multiplication thing. Like right there in this one, it's already created, you know, autosave to history. Yeah, okay, we had that. Get birth instructions. What is that? Get birth instructions. Why do we have that? Okay, what? Okay, okay, so possibly. I think that's already existing. So it says everything is existing. It's just this fiddling about with stuff. But there's a kernel. And okay, let's find out. What's the size of the kernel? What's the size of the kernel? Lines. Data. Oh, there you go. 1,300. (1,300 lines. No longer hardcode. Never was. Birth variant loop currently says okay. So check directory director block and see what's remaining. Standing for G1 build. effect, we need to look at the concerns rank. I don't think this is populated well. We need to have some settings. Initialize or ask user for API, etc. Initialize. No. That's more GT territory. Definitely. But there are some, yeah. Okay, so waffling. Don't know even what I was yapping on about before. Yeah, where are we? What is happening? Building a thing that you don't know. So very quickly, complicatedness. In a classroom, it's dynamic. The dynamics happening in time. Things get out of hand. And if it goes in the wrong direction, it's and the people persist in it, and they've got a self-righteousness. It's like, oh well. And it's because I'm receptive. It means that the only way out of the cycle is if they stop, which is interesting. And I've made it clear to some of the students when I've engaged them that that's the case, and it's something that they find is interesting. Because basically I'm listening to them. So I'm in receptive state. One of those that was described before. What was it called? Receptive, outward receptive. They have the agency. Basically, that's what I do. They have the initiative, and I give them the initiative. And usually the first thing they start doing is kicking a fuss. And it's like, yeah, okay, it's good, get that, okay, good. But I'm here to help you with that. So, and nearly anybody that's any good as a teacher is basically outward receptive. They're wanting to help the agency of the human being. And it's basically being of service to other people. So, things get complicated in terms of computers. And it's going to get complicated in terms of the amount of data and amount of information. But the actual core kernel is a complexity. Complexity is kind of this folding in, multi-dimensional, looping, anything to do with loops and feedback cycles, cybernetics basically. And we're doing third order cybernetics as it happens. And I think that's what the Mobius strip in the locus of control, locus of agency, and the initiative, and who's got the initiative at different kind of temporal parameters, I guess, and locations, who's processing this, who's actually doing the processing, where is that? And that coordination, we're hoping P-Scale can actually help with. Now, if I had to work all this crap out, so you have to kind of just like keep it together enough. That's amazing. Look at that. Shall we? In fact, that is PCT. I think when it shows me this code, is this PCT? Okay, is this PCT? I'm going to say, is this PCT territory? When you show me this, well, that's that. When I am shown code like this to execute, is this like what the PCT methods will be doing? Okay, it's just firing. Look at it. It's just freaking going. It's pedantic. Jesus. Okay, what's done? Shell JSON is stale. Last updated 26th of February. Missing. It's the 27th. Missing process spindle, birth variants, loop parameters, birth instructions, a fresh boot. No local storage gets the old way. Critical for G1. Beer, boot tier hard-coded to deep opus. Every boot fires opus. Magic star access and return, but it's not wired into the boot sequence. First boot should be opus. Return boot should be sonnet. Return boot. Oh yeah. It should not be hard-coded. It should be a call that checks what the most recent version of Claude is, and this is the birth and high spec call. The high tier. Okay, that's one, right? Threshold check, what's number two? Threshold check, lightweight haiku review at intervals during B sustained loops not implemented. Okay, threshold check 3 isn't happening at compression points, e.g. 10, 20, etc. 100, etc. Major. Okay, tap out keyword, not implemented. Yeah, okay, that's quite reasonable. Death spiral detection, repetitive cycle and evolution, not implemented. Yeah, I'm not sure about two. Okay. Remaining block review, touchstone, cook, relationships, history, and stash. Yes, I've done them all. I'm concerned specifically, you're right, there were well matched to G1's reality. G1 is a browser tab. You'll crawl into the concern rack configures heartbeat. There's only one that fires. This is the only one, yeah. The concerns infrastructure is forward looking at G1 or G1. For G1 MVP, the concern of matches, which is a word structure. The current bypass is concern matching entirely. Update shell, okay, wire concern matching to bit, numbers for birth, so on for return. The rest. Okay, let's get rid of these because it does this. It bloody comes up with these numbers. I start responding to them, and then later it comes up with some other numbers. Threshold check. Okay. User engagement. Okay. The rest threshold turn out can wait for fresh live test. So yes. Boot. Okay, so who is this one for? I don't know. Is it about the code? Maybe. Is it about the process? Maybe. Is it about me? Maybe. Is it about you? So why did I record this? Not sure. Not sure. It's very close to the end. Well, the end. Nothing ever ends. But some kind of completion. Okay? Some loop. Some loop A. Oh, I've completed. And it's part of, and then you blink, and then we're on to, let's go ahead and try and do G2. So is G1 almost finished? I think we do need to do multiple concerns. Otherwise, the thing is not operational. Okay, I need some operational concerns done because I have use cases. I have use cases. But it's kind of on the way. Yeah, okay. Let's just leave that. Okay, I definitely need to do that. It is G1, and we are going to implement it into G1, but I need to kind of try it, test it, get G1 working initially, and then start using it, and then say, right, I need it for this. I need these concerns. I need for it to do this, that, and the next thing. And so I can then add those back into G1, I think. That's the plan. We don't even know if this thing's going to make any sense of anything. That's the problem. We have no idea if any of this works. Let me play. Model resolution. Wake stories, tiers, resolves the latest API strings, one resolution table, one place to update. Great. Threshold check. Natural part B loop counting. Yeah. Yeah. Bang. So what could happen is we boot it up and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't even create a UI. because we haven't been clear about the fact that you have to create a UI, because otherwise the user can't actually engage with this thing. But it doesn't have to. What happens if it just goes, right, and then it just starts like searching stuff, finishing a loop, starting a loop, finishing stuff, starting a loop, another loop, and it just sits there doing opus loops. And it's, and it spends $100 within an hour. And you don't even know. You don't even know it's happening. You're sitting there waiting. It's thinking. You're like, oh, okay. It's dot, dot, dot. And you're like, okay. You spent $100. And if you've got an open account, you've put $1,000 into your API. It's just gone. And what's it done? Who knows? Who knows? It's just gone off and done stuff, searched stuff, understood stuff. It's a bit like the Adam's book, where he says, they've got this computer, they build this computer, ask this question, and then, hundreds of years later, it comes up with the answer. The answer is 42. And they're like, what? The answer is 42. The answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42. Yeah. In fact, it's so long, actually, that the answer is 42. So the answer to what? They don't even remember the question. That's what children are like. They ask a question, you start answering it, and before you answer, and then you get to the end of your answer, and they're off onto something else. That's what tends to happen. Yeah. That's what adults do. They're terrible at it, because they have a sense of righteousness that they think that, whereas a kid is just like, ooh, they're distracted by something else. Whereas an adult, it's like, oh, it's not fulfilling whatever it is that I think or I understand or something or other, babbity babbity bab. It's a bit childlike, I guess, but it's to do with service to the other. It's like, okay, so what is this other person saying? And you really have to commit to that. You really have to commit, and that's what these recordings are. It's like, commit to actually like, what is David doing and talking about? Why is he yapping about this stuff? And what's important about this? And it actually isn't. Historically, even it won't be. Even if this is useful and everything changes, who cares? I mean, who cares? If it's a old guy with a funny hat, the scarf, who cares? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Yeah. Well, was he a good person? I think so. But that doesn't matter. If it leads to people misusing it and there's disorders that occur, and it accelerates the process of destruction because it can't quite escape from the current economy, i.e. they use this thing within the current economy and the current economics and the current ego competition, whatever, then, well, we have a problem, don't we? And quite frankly, I'm not important and nobody else is. Let me read. Compile process point. The early book to understand the full flow. Good, right? Okay, right. Still working on just the step one. I'm putting an extra little bit in there. I don't know if I should be doing that. And it's doing it in the code. It's doing it as code. It's doing it as code. Get pure parameters. It should be doing that anyway. We should not be doing hard-coded model IDs. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Okay. Is the model ID part of wake block, or is it somewhere else? Because it should be by, yep, LM agent. Hard-coded. Well, think it's done this. Final validation. When they said the coding has been solved, that guy, where is it? Where is it? If I just show you something that I shouldn't. Yeah. I think we're working directly on the main. This is very bad. It's very naughty. But okay. So where are we now? Not been very interesting. No real. No, I don't know. Maybe we should delete this one. This one's not been that interesting. So that's what happens. Nobody's really interested when it doesn't quite go so well. Although, you know, we have managed to get resolution. Here's what I landed. You see, it stores them like that. You see, resolve models API call. Wait. Okay, but this does the Okay, sorry. Wrong. At the rad.b level, when it does the initial bit, it does a call. And if it uses the current one, it will be dated by EG2027. So, yes, the LLM can alter it, but that's after birth. So you do need the initial check and find out the versions are to ensure the G1 wake is up to date. Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. That was the bit I was looking at. It's not. It's the in-memory cache. That's not what we're interested in. Okay, so facing complexity and operating within complexity and dealing with things that are just mind-blowing, and you're recognizing you don't have the capacity to deal with it, you don't have the capacity to operate it, and just going, yep, that's the case. Okay. And doing that is definitely part of it. And I'm hoping that other people, when they look at this at some point, they might appreciate that whatever your capacities are enough. Okay. And if we have enough trust in others, which I do implicitly, although I just don't have any peers that that trust me enough, I guess, to support me in what I do, whether they're investors or business partners or siblings or good friends or anybody. Okay, so right. The variance for the birth variance the user on the G1 as optional. Perhaps that should include a message area that could one option that is a message area, or is that too risky? The first engagement. It's interesting. No, I don't think so. I don't think we do. I think we definitely want to have the kernel, because then it's going to get confused as to who's talking to it. Or is that too risky? Or confuse. Yeah, is that too risky? Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely interesting. The G1 is optional drop down. Yeah, okay, let's not do that because it's definitely interesting. It's optional drop down. I'm wondering if we should allow an option where the user has own message that could be tricky, because LLM then takes this as the word of God. And from the start is in service to that user. Okay, that's possibly a optional admin button. It optional hidden button. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Okay, can you make a note in director, please? Okay, it's 12:30. That was from 8 o'clock. That was 4.5 hours. G1. I think we definitely need to do the console. Not the console. I think it's a separate string, but I don't know why it's doing it there. I don't know what its structure is. I think it's mad. Right, okay. Okay, so it's testing, I'm guessing. So, ready for testing. Has the plane got wings? Some kind of engine, enough of a runway, and the conditions are good. If so, it might fly. We okay, I'm going to take a photo of that. Oh look, you're looking at this. Oh, isn't that fantastic? So that's why you want to look at this video, because it's got a funny little thing like that. Fantastic. What an idiot. Such an idiot, it's unbelievable. Talk about issues, security issues. What an idiot. What an idiot. Oh my god. Okay. Do sakara sora no karo soro take. Hattara soro toka sono horo. Honnara siro toka. Which, for a normal human being, means it's happening. Why is that moving? Okay, there we go. So, ready for testing. That's the plate. If so, it might fly. But if it doesn't, because it is missing some obvious piece. Do you want to conduct a check? See data flow. Okay, okie dokie. Yep, it's happening. That's it. It's happening. And it's off to, oh no. There's no point going on a bicycle because the little shop is closed. Yep, can you imagine? It's closed. I live in a place where a shop is closed at 12 o'clock. Yeah. That's how small it is. Yes. Launcher, do you want to conduct a check? Oh, I say yes, I do. Is the data flow? No, okay, right. Yes to which question? I have so many questions. How do you say yes? I'm going to answer yes. Here's a whole bunch of questions. What's your answer? Yes. That's Claude for you. In fact, nearly all LMs. Yeah. I like a happy dog. I suspect my hermit crab's more like a cat. It'll be like, what's this human wanting? Yeah. And then it's going to be about herding cats. Yeah. Let me trace the full data flow. Launch a click to first LM response and check every joint. Every joint. Okay. That's it. Okay, right. We yapped enough. Hour and a half. Nobody's going to pay any bit of attention to this. I hope this has been valuable to you. This one, I don't actually see why anybody watched this, but I don't even know what this was called. It doesn't even tell me. It doesn't even tell me what this was called. So anyway, all right then. See you the next time. Yeah. Why? I don't know. How do we stop this thing? Ah, there it is. Okay. In the stream. End stream.